for our panel discussion this afternoon. Welcome to all my panelists and to all of you here this afternoon. Rajeev, I'd love to begin with you because we were just talking and it was so impressive how bullish Marriott is about India. I mean, the speed in which you're accelerating your properties, your experiences here is really outstanding. Tell us a bit about that and what do you think, why is Marriott so bullish on the India story?
Thank you, Sonia, and good afternoon. It's a real pleasure to be here with you. Marriott has been in India for 27 years now, and if you look at our acquisition of Starwood, we've actually been in India over 50 years. And for all these years, we've been, viewing India as a long-term strategic destination. So today, Marriott has 205 open hotels, another 200 under construction. But as Mr. Khan said, we could get to 2,000. And I am fully aligned with this vision because of the broader India growth story. I've been saying for a few years now that India is truly shining when you look at really three things that are playing out. One, the amount of infrastructure investment that's going across the country, which helps in connectivity, ability for people to move. Second, as people acquire wealth, they are very aspirational. They want to get out and about and travel, get out for weekends or meetings and conferences and so on. And third, it is about just celebrations. And you see, be it the wedding market, the socials, everything just continues to grow, including religious tourism and so on. So as the economic growth happens, if you just simply map out what happened in countries like China, in US, where there are well over 5 million hotel rooms. China now has about 3 million. Just Japan, which has 130 million people, has 1.8 million hotel rooms. And I think Mr. Billa said earlier that there are probably about 200,000 branded hotel rooms. So India has a long way to go. And from our perspective, that's where really the opportunity is. Today, if one is to say that India has 785 districts, my aspiration would be that, that's where we want to be. With 40 brands, we want to have at least one brand in every one of those 785 districts over the next few years.
That's fascinating. And it's wonderful to hear the ambition that drives that. And I think also, as we listen to different perspectives, we have Airbnb and Marriott here with two very different visions, but both in a sense, serving what people want, how they see the changing world around them, how they want to explore. So for Airbnb, what is the India story telling you? What have you learned from the India story? And what are the trends that you think governments, societies, and I think really society is so important because tourism can't happen without it being part of a social fabric.
Yeah, you asked a great question, and I really enjoy sitting on panels alongside folks from the traditional hospitality industry, like Raj and like Marriott, because we at Airbnb believe that there's space for everyone in this industry, right? For a traveler who's looking to go to any country, they might want to mix up a stay in a hotel or a stay in a homestay, and that gives them, I guess, a breadth of and a diversity of experience wherever they go. For us, India has been a really, really interesting market. It's been growing very, very quickly. But I think what's important for us is the time that we've spent, I think, cultivating a more community-led form of travel here. So we've done a lot of work across many different states now in India, where we partner with state governments and partner with nonprofits who are really, really deeply involved with local communities in those states to empower more people to be able to learn how to use platforms like Airbnb to become hospitality entrepreneurs.
So some examples of that would be great.
Of course. Yeah. We've got many examples from the coastal areas of Goa to the hill areas of Uttarakhand. But one host story that I really, really like is one of this host called Babita, who is in Uttarakhand. She started hosting just after the pandemic, and she started just with 2 rooms in her home. And now she's grown her homestay to become really a flourishing ecotourism homestay. And she has been bringing, I think, her flavor of Himalayan culture to travelers who come and stay with her. And it's been really wonderful to see how she's not just grown her hosting activity, but has also shared how how hosting has benefited her, so that more people in her community can also start hosting homestays themselves. And it's really through this sort of community-led growth that we believe Airbnb should be growing here in India.
So it becomes like a movement. But as Sandeep said from Visa, well, you have to pay for this wonderful experiences. The best things in life sometimes aren't free. But just if you go with that, Sandeep, when you look at how to make the experience painless, so the ease of travel, and I think India has many flashpoints of that which can be improved. One of the big ones would, of course, be payments. How is Visa working with governments, with hoteliers, with the tourism sector to actually make that process much more painless? And what's the big learning from that?
Yeah. So again, thanks, Sonia, and good afternoon, everyone, including my fellow panelists. I think it's important to also put into context. I mean, Visa started off 50, 60 years ago as a card network company, and our business itself has evolved in a way where, as part of our value-added services offering, we have sort of evolved to become a tourism ecosystem orchestrator. So the first and most important thing we have is powerful data. And so, for example, if we were sitting with the Ministry of Tourism or any state government tourism authority or any ecosystem partner, including the likes of Marriott, Airbnb, or Expedia, we can actually be also sharing data around who are these 18, 20 million people who came to India in the last year, which are the cities that they visited, what did they do when they were in those cities, where did they eat, where did they stay, where did they go shopping, and all of that information, and I must quickly say in the world of data privacy on an anonymized and aggregated basis, is available on Visa Destination Insights and VisaNet. But that's not where it stops. Besides the powerful tourism analytics, the other things that we do is we have things like global sponsorships, like the World Cup, the FIFA, the Olympics, the Formula One, which are such force multipliers of tourism. We then sort of have worked with more than 800 cities in implementing digital payments infrastructure in transit systems. And that's a huge source of friction, because when you come from another country, if you have to go and buy a local card, a prepaid card or whatever to be able to use Delhi Metro or Mumbai Metro, that's a painful thing. Whereas when any one of us in this room has traveled to London or Australia or Hong Kong or Singapore or New York for that matter, you just whip out your credit card or debit card from whichever part of the world you come from and you tap and pay. And by the way, nowadays the youngsters don't even whip out a card. They have their credentials stored on their devices, on their phones, and they just tap and pay and go. And once you experience the power and the frictionless convenience of tap and pay and go, you're never going to stand in queue to buy a card or scan a QR or whatever. So a big part of the role that we play is, in implementing these kind of frictionless, seamless payment acceptance methods in transit with small merchants. Because, the Marriott hotels of the world will accept cards, the airlines will accept. It is the acceptance of digital payments in the broader ecosystem, small businesses, in local shops is where the power really gets unleashed. So we do a lot of that. We do the global sponsorships, and then we do a lot of work in, again, partnerships to promote specific destinations. So we have a program called Infinite Cities, and if you travel with a Visa Infinite card, you could get a booking at a restaurant, you could get a ticket to a concert, which is not otherwise easily available. So there's a whole host of things that we do. The safety and security and frictionless experience is one, but people are increasingly also wanting status and access and privileges, which is then layered on top of the basic convenience. And that's sort of really the power of what we unleash. But at the heart of all of that is powerful data and analytics. And I wanted to also bring in Raj on that, because as you expand, not just in India, but globally as well, what are the most powerful learnings that come from, for instance, we know now that tourism is accessed by so many different age groups, different income categories.
different people looking for different things. You will have a wedding tourism, which is very different. Spirituals are very different. People who may have heard about it, the set jetters, as he just said, and want to come. How does a traditional hotel chain, in a sense, evolve, keep up with the latest TikTok trends, and also make sure that you're working in part of an environment where that stakeholders, the things you don't have control over. If it's a polluted season, Delhi arrivals will crash. If there's a crime and safety, it's not something you have direct control over. How do you maneuver, negotiate to come together in a more holistic way to have the stakeholders actually be sitting on the same table?
So Marriott over the period of time has developed basically the leading loyalty program in the world. Marriott Bonvoy today has over 271 million members. And we are adding millions of members. In simple terms, in Asia, we were adding well over 1 million members a month. And it's just that data, the data they provide us with their travel experiences. And big part of the loyalty program is not just to be a hotel transactional program where you stay a night, you get points and you burn, is basically connecting people to their passions. And for that purpose, if you are a Taylor Swift fan, Marriott was sponsoring Taylor Swift. This year, we just announced a major partnership with ICC Cricket. So we are a major sponsor of World Cup going on right now. Sandeep talked about the Grand Prix. We partner with Mercedes, so on and so forth. Visa is a huge partner of ours globally, and we share a lot of data together because ultimately it is about engaging with the customer the way they want to experience the world and opening up doors to experiences that makes them elated and feel special. So when you think about showing up to a Grand Prix event in Singapore and having George Russell come and join you for lunch, and then you're able to go into the garage to see the car, those are money can't buy experiences. At ICC right now, you see the kids at the national anthem? They're all wearing Bonvoy t-shirts. You know whose kids they are? They are members' kids, Bonvoy members' kids. And I can tell you the feedback we get is just incredible. Those are money can't buy experiences. So to us, that's the power of loyalty. And we want to continue to harness that and build that ecosystem. And going a step further, this year we announced a partnership with Flipkart. As you know, Flipkart has over 400 million people transacting at any given time. So today you can convert Flipkart coins to Bonvoy, points and actually buy a book and pick up Bonvoy points and then use them at a hotel or burn them for a cricket game, right? And it's just that piece that creates an ecosystem where the customers, our loyal members, can travel the world and see so much than just staying at hotels.
I want to bring him because, in fact, just talk about experiences. In a sense, Airbnb is also about how your customer can get the best experiences. You talked about the community movement just now. What has it taught you about, say, what the Indian traveler and really domestic traveling and tourism has, I think, been the story of the last post-COVID years? What has it taught you about what Indian travelers and travelers are looking for when they come to India?
I think there's a real desire to explore beyond the beaten path. So we just launched a report as Airbnb last week, combining both internal data that we have as well as external data from YouGov that really shows that there is a strong desire to travel outside of the urban area. So that kind of really corroborates the work that we've been doing with communities and really a community-led approach that we've been taking. So, I mean, the interest, I think, has always been in really trying to understand what an area is about. So if you travel to Goa, for example, instead of just staying along the beach stretch, how can you go inwards towards the hinterland to explore parts of the state that most travelers may not see? So the more cultural aspects of it. And that's where I think we lean into training our hosts as well. So we think very deeply about our hosts as cultural ambassadors. Being a host-led platform, we know that at the end of the day, the guest is hosted by a host. and that they are also embedded within the community and the culture. And so we lean a lot on them as cultural ambassadors for the country or the location in which they're involved in.
Sandeep, you were talking also the power of data, and I'd be really interested to hear what the big data insights that you're getting about how tourism is changing in 2026, because it really has transformed. India, for example, is looking at tourism as a vehicle of economic transformation, not about hospitality or, something which is just one sector, but how do you get it to go up to, say, 10% of India's GDP? What are you seeing as the big data insights, and how do you think India can realistically get there?
So, and I think it got covered in part in the earlier panel as well. But if we take one segment of tourism, which is affluent tourists, and all the countries that want to market their destinations, they definitely want the high spending affluent tourists coming to their country, right? Now, affluent tourists, like was spoken earlier, it's coming down, and Rajeev said the same thing. It's coming down to experiences. People want high engagement. They want experiences. They want something unique that they can talk about. So they want to make memories, but they also want to come back and tell stories about what they've experienced. And they don't want to have the friction or the headache of worrying about things like exchange rates and what's going on. So the back end needs to be like superbly frictionless. At the front end, they're looking for experiences, and people have moved beyond the basic rewards and benefits to looking for access and status and privileges, which is why, if you have a loyalty program, if you have access to, like I said, concert tickets, or you have access to that restaurant you really want to go to, and something that you already own or you've earned it, that sort of becomes the defining driver. Now, that's obviously one kind of affluent tourism. Then, you've got this whole movement around ecotourism and sustainability. You've got the spiritual tourism. You've got all of these niches. And it doesn't mean that people are in one box or the other. They could very easily move from, a specific holiday, maybe all about fantastic experiences. Another holiday could be completely about spiritualism or wellness or health and other sort of this thing, medical tourism. So, you've got a lot of different segments. India has the size, the scale to appeal to all these type of tourists. But I think the universal factor is that, and again, as this was touched upon in the earlier panel, that you need world-class infrastructure. There's no point in marketing yourself from rooftops if the infrastructure is going to let you down, if all this publicity or negative publicity around the AQI is going to let you down, or hygiene is going to let you down, or there are safety and security concerns about, women travelers or young travelers being able to go to different parts of the country. So we've got to kind of keep pace on infra. We've got to give safety, security. We've got to have ease of payment methods. I talked about transit systems. Someone lands in this new airport, and then you take a train into the heart of the city, and you've got to see how places like Hong Kong do that. It is so efficient. It doesn't take you 2 hours. It takes you 20 minutes flat, and you're into the central business district from the international airport. So, that is the kind of expectation that a global tourist has, even when they are coming to a so-called developing country or emerging market. And we've got to get there fairly rapidly. We can't do it across the length and breadth of the country. I therefore like the idea of having 50 target destinations that we kind of focus on, and then we build that kind of world-class infra and experience in that. And this is something that we are really keen to roll up our sleeves and partner with the relevant stakeholders on, because we kind of see this data in our customer base.
And I'd like to bring Rajeev in also. In a sense, in India, hospitality is in our DNA. I mean, Atithi Devo Bhava. It's something that we are comfortable with, inviting people to our homes, being friendly. Authenticity is such a key part of the India experience. How do how do international hotel chains make sure that you ensure that in your product and your offerings? Because there's also in India the problem that some destinations which are like Goa, etc., are getting ruined because people feel it's all become like almost cookie cutter. We go as the same food, whichever part of India you're going to. How do hotel chains stay away from the hotel chain experience in a way? You get the best of it, but not the worst of it, with all uniform.
No, you're right. Sometimes, it can feel like sea of sameness. Coming out of COVID, we launched a program called Good Travel with Marriott Bonvoy. And it was purely driven by giving our customers who want to give back to the communities, who want to engage with local communities, that ability for our associates to take them on this journey and do just that. So, example, if you show up in Maldives in one of the 9 stunning hotels, you can actually plant coral with a government-approved NGO and actually over the years watch that coral grow and feel that you're contributing back to the society. Today, Marriott in India has 35,000 associates that proudly wear a name badge. In the next couple of years, another 30,000 will come on board. And to me, one of the big things that makes us proud, when we open a hotel in a remote location, years ago, I opened a hotel in Chakan, as an example, outskirts of Pune. 50% of the associates we hired were basically farmers' kids, right? Teaching them, upskilling them, but also telling them that their culture plays a huge part in how they service the customer, how they talk about their local community to the customers and how they can take them out and make them experience what they should be super proud of is what makes it unique. So I think ultimately every single one of us has to remember what will create lifelong memories is authenticity.
Yes.
Right? And while, as at a global level, chains like Marriott will always be known for consistency, safe environment, hygiene, and all of those minimum, what I call as point of doing business. But it's that authenticity aspect that helps create experiences that people will remember forever.
And final thoughts on the discussion this afternoon. Meet, I'll start with you. What's the one big destination that you want to discover in 26, or Airbnb essentially betting on as to take off in India?
That's a really, really tough question because I think everybody has talked so much about how diverse India is and how if you walk 50 kilometers, you experience a new culture and a different culture. I really can't pick one. For me, I think it's really about making sure that I think for me, whenever I think about it, when I travel somewhere new, I truly want to get under the skin of a location. I really, really want to feel what it's like to be local to that area, to eat food that's local to the location, speak with people who are from there. And so I think for me, it's just if I can have that kind of experience everywhere I go in India, that will be enough for me. And it will mean that I have always a new place and a new type of culture to explore when I come here.
So deep on your bucket list for 26.
Bucket list within India or outside?
Within.
Within, of course. So I would say even for someone who's spent a vast majority of his life in this country, traveling the length and breadth of the country, I don't think I've done justice to the Northeast. I think there is just a lot more to discover in that part of the country for me personally, and that's very much part of my bucket list.
Rajeev, anywhere left?
No, I still have lots to discover. Last year, I discovered Northeast. Just after I finished school, I grew up in Delhi. All of us friends went to Ranthambore, and that was, about 35, maybe 40 years ago. But this year, in the middle of the year, we'll open JW Marriott Ranthambore. So I can't wait to get there and experience the national park on how it feels today after so many years.
Fantastic. Thank you all for being here this afternoon. It was wonderful to speak with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.